61A, lecture number 3, announcements. It's week 2, and there's a lot going on. Lab 0 was released last week. It's a take-home lab that walks you through the process of setting up your personal computer if you want to use that for the course. I suggest trying to complete it before you come to your regular lab meeting this week, where you will work on Lab 1. If you don't make it all the way through Lab 0, that's okay. You could just come to lab and ask your questions there. We'll help you get set up. It is normal for students to bring their computers to lab, but it's not required. Our lab rooms also have plenty of computers, and you can do all your work there. So it's really up to you, but I think the norm these days is that students bring their laptops because they prefer to work on their own machine. If you are going to use one of our computers, which is totally fine, they're good computers, make sure that you sign up for an EECS account, which is described in Lab 0. Homework 1 is released. It's due next Thursday, and these problems do tend to take a little while to think about and work on, so don't leave it to the last minute. In fact, I'm going to give you some advice, which is to schedule your semester around the release dates of assignments rather than the due dates. Assignments are typically released in the evenings, so you don't need to wait up and work on them the day they're released, but the day afterwards is a great time to get started on an assignment. So Homework 1 was released Friday, and I'm publishing this video early on Saturday so that students who want to work their way through the homework now can do so, because Homework 1 does include material from Monday's lecture, that's this one, in addition to the lectures from last week. A great time to get started on the homework is on Monday evening, when we'll have a homework party from 6:30 to 8 in Corey Hall. Come to 241 Corey. If it looks crowded, try 247 Corey right down the hall. That's our overflow room, and we'll probably have students and staff there as well. Homework parties are a chance for you to work with other students in the presence of a lot of staff members so that everybody makes progress on the assignments. Assignments are not a chance for you to prove that you already understand something, but instead a chance to understand things by working through problems. Oftentimes those problems are different than anything that we saw in lecture. They combine ideas or use ideas in new ways. So if you find that reading the questions on the homework, you can't immediately solve them, that's very normal. And that's why we have events like homework parties and office hours, so that you can get help if you're not quite sure how to proceed. Drop-in office hours start this week. And here is the link to the calendar of office hours. So here's the week of August 27th. I'll have office hours in the afternoon. Merdad, Yanan, and Jerry will all be available in the evening, followed by Nick and Ryan an hour later. And then we have office hours for a total of 20 hours a week or more, across Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There's special conceptual office hours, which don't focus on assignments, but instead focus on concepts from lecture and discussion on Friday evenings if you want to review key concepts in the course. Daytime office hours are all held in 109 Morgan Hall. Evening office hours are held in Corey Hall. My office hours are in my office, except for these that are held online, and there's a link. And where are all these buildings? Well, here's a map to Morgan Hall, here's a map to Corey Hall. Hopefully I'll find you there. If you enter the room and you're not quite sure what to do, follow this link to join the Office Hours queue, which is an online app that allows you to virtually raise your hand, and then people will come find you and answer your question by shouting out your name. If multiple students have questions about the same problem, sometimes you'll all get helped together. I'd also like to point out that 3 different groups on campus also hold drop-in office hours, and we've linked to their web pages describing those. So if you ever find that you didn't get what you need from our office hours, you can try those as well. Another reason to start your assignments early is to make sure that you don't get stuck in a crowded office hour. Right before a deadline, it is the case, regardless of how many times I say to students that you shouldn't wait till the deadline to work on your homework, that there are many students working on the homework right before the deadline. And that means it can be hard to answer everybody's questions on Thursday afternoons. So Start the homework early, start the projects early, and you'll be in better shape. We will release Project 1, called HOG, on Monday evening. It will be due the following Thursday. There are 3 parts to the project. The first part you're going to work on individually. Once you submit that, you can find a partner. I suggest finding a partner in your discussion and lab section so that you have the same TA. That makes your life much easier, but it's not strictly required. And you can work with a partner if you want for phases 2 and 3 of the project. We release all the phases together. You can work your way through at your own pace. But I do suggest that you get started as soon as you're done with homework 1. In order to make sure that you don't leave it till the deadline, which is Thursday, I am requiring that phase 1 be finished by Tuesday, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the 4th of September. Now, you shouldn't wait until Tuesday to do it. You should do it before then. But if you get stuck or you have other things to do, then it's fine if you do it by Tuesday, because that still gives you a couple of days to finish phases 2 and 3. However, as an extra incentive for starting early, if you submit the whole project by Wednesday, the 5th of September, you get an early submission bonus point. A whole point just for finishing the project early. I strongly suggest that you try to get that point. If for some reason you don't finish and you only finish by the due date, well, you've only missed out on 1 point. Whereas if you turn in a project late, you lose 1/4 of the points on the whole project, which is a lot. I'll talk more about the project after it's released. And finally, the first extra lecture on Newton's method will be this Wednesday in 306 Soda in the afternoon at 3 p.m. I know that's not a perfect time because some students have discussion and lab at the same time, but that's true for pretty much any time during the week, so we've done our best to offer this extra lecture at a time when many people can make it. And what is an extra lecture anyway? Well, there's regular lecture content, which you are responsible for knowing, and then there's extra lecture content, which you are not at all responsible for knowing. It's totally optional. These are interesting applications of course ideas or extensions of course ideas that I like talking about, and so they're available to you to learn about if you want, but completely optional. They're not good practice if you want to get good exam scores. Instead, they're just interesting. So if you're feeling comfortable with the material so far and you want to see how it can be extended and used in new ways, come to the extra lectures, which will always be on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. And those will be co-taught by myself and one of our graduate student instructors, Merdad, who has great research experience with a lot of the topics that we'll cover in that extra lecture series. If you do decide to come regularly to the extra lecture series and complete the extra homeworks, which are problems based on the extra lecture series lectures, you don't get any extra credit points in 61A, but you can get an additional unit of credit in another course called Additional Topics in the Structure and Interpretation of Computer Programs. Come to the extra lecture on Wednesday to learn more about this 1-unit pass-no-pass course that you can take while you're taking 61A to learn extra topics. Those are the announcements. You may have noticed if you've watched videos before for this course that not every video you're watching was recorded this semester. Whenever it's the case that I'm just planning to say exactly what I said in a previous year, then I use that previous year's video again. No sense in re-recording it if I'm just going to say the same thing. But whenever the content in the course changes in any way, then I will record new videos so that if you're watching lecture via video instead of coming live, you get exactly the same content. And now, on to the rest of today's lecture about control.